What is going on, y'all? Psych Perspectives, GeoFucks, and I'm gonna discuss a little bit about the allegations facing Jay-Z. Now, I've been saying this for a while, and everybody, not everybody, but some people get upset, and get all, which they have every right. You do not have to agree with everything I say and do, just like I don't agree with everything that everybody says and does. We all gonna have disagreements and agreements. However, I have been saying this for a while. Cisgendered men are typically the ones committing these acts of atrocities. I'm not saying Jay-Z committed this act, but every time there's a sexual assault, sexual abuse, molestation, rape, murder, mass shootings, pedophilia, etc., you can almost guarantee that it's going to be a cisgendered male. It's going to be a cis male. And this isn't to say that cis women, transgender people, trans men, trans women, trans masculine, trans feminine, intersex, non-binary. This isn't to say that other genders don't commit these acts of violence, of sexual depravity, abuse, things of that nature. I'm not saying that they don't. However, when you look at the numbers, you look at the stats, cis males are disproportionately the highest percentage in anything relating to sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual trauma. And it's always the same group, and yet people really want folks to not look at this group as a potential threat when it's typically that demographic that's committing these acts. And then it's the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy ultimately is what gets me. Okay? And the reason why I say the hypocrisy is what ultimately gets me is that you literally have cis male fathers who have daughters, okay, or uncles who have nieces, grandfathers that have granddaughters, who will literally sit up and tell the women and the girls and the women in their lives to be wary and mindful of men. Okay? They will literally tell you to be wary and mindful of men, but then turn around and be like, well, not all men. So everybody is just being very hypocritical at this point. Like, we're not going to have our antennas up when this particular demographic is constantly doing this. There's a potential that cis male that you're hanging out with is likely going to potentially be somebody that's abusive. It is what it is. Okay? And then also the stranger danger myth. People are typically being abused by people that they know. This is not a stranger, okay? And this is what abusers typically do. They get close to you. They make it seem like they love and care for you. They respect you and all this other. They get close and then they assault. And it's typically, when we talk about molestation, it's typically a family member, a family friend. Again, somebody that y'all know. It ain't some stranger danger mess. Okay, when people are getting raped and sexually assaulted, it's typically somebody that they know. It's not some stranger danger mess. And this isn't to say that there isn't stranger danger situations that have taken place, that have happened. Because it does happen. But again, it's typically somebody you know. And that's what's also even more disgusting, is that these are typically going to be your cis male friends, your brothers, your stepbrothers, your cis male cousins, etc., that are doing the abusing. Okay, this isn't, some stranger danger mess 24/7 like they try to portray. Okay, this is somebody that you are close with, that you have a relationship with. And that is sickening, because again, it is every man. Until every man starts speaking up and holding other men accountable, it is every man, because it's literally going to be somebody that you know that's going to be abusing you. And also, cis males are also being victimized being abused, being sexually assaulted, okay, being raped, being murdered by other cis males. And other cis men constantly talk about how they are afraid of other men. So again, I am so sick and tired of us acting like we don't see who is causing most of the problems here. Now hear me out with this though. It's the ideologies. It's the beliefs. It's the behaviors. It's the socialization. And what I mean by that is cisgendered men, cis males, are not inherently bad people or not inherently predators. However, when you are being socialized under patriarchy, under toxic masculinity, it's not a surprise that that particular group is the one committing most of these issues. I'm just gonna be honest. You're literally raising predators. You're socializing them to be psychopaths, sociopaths, predators. I'm just gonna call the thing out. And granted, let me put a disclaimer. There are non-violent sociopaths. There are non-violent psychopaths. Just because somebody is technically diagnosed as a psychopath or a sociopath doesn't mean that they're going to automatically be a murderous, killing, abuser, predator. That's not the case. However, when you look at the type of behaviors that cis males are literally indoctrinated in and told that this is what it means to be a man, like case in point, the selfishness to the extreme. Okay, like if you're always going to only be thinking about yourself and your needs and what's going to benefit you, you're not going to be a good person. You're not, because you're literally willing to throw other people into harm's way, under the bus, to get your way. So if that's the way we're socializing an entire demographic of people, cisgendered males, you cannot be surprised that they don't have a problem with killing people. They don't have a problem with raping and molesting and doing things that is negative and horrible to others, because they don't care about others. That's what you're socializing them to be like. Okay, now let's get into Jay-Z. This sadly is not surprising. It's sickening. It's disgusting. This allegation of about what he did in 2000 to a 13-year-old girl, a 13-year-old teenage girl, 24 years ago, allegedly, the allegations, it's sickening and disgusting. And again, it's sadly not surprising. I'm sorry, but birds of a feather tend to flock together. Notice I said 10, because there are definitely different cases and scenarios. There's always, exemption. There's always the potential that a bird will not fly with the same flock. They will go and get with another flock. That is very true. However, birds of a feather typically flock together. And it's really odd to me how all of these men, right, they don't know any rapists, but yet so many women know people who have been raped, have been sexually assaulted, have been sexually abused. But yet all of these men, for some reason, don't know any men. They either don't know any men who have been abused sexually, physically, mentally, or they don't know anybody that's an abuser. And it's just really odd, right? Because obviously somebody's lying here, okay? Not to mention a lot of these cis dudes, and I hear this all the time talking to other cis men, a lot of these cis dudes do not hold each other accountable. Okay, like they're completely fine with being friends with people who are rapists, who are abusers, who are violent. They don't mind it. In fact, they don't think that's any of their business a lot of times what their friends do behind closed doors or when they're not around them, which is really odd, because we'll turn around and tell women, if one of your friends is a hoe, then somehow you must be a hoe because that's who you are hanging out with. Very odd to me. The double standards, the hypocrisy.